Everybody's talking about this $400 million flying palace that the Qataris are gifting to the Trump administration. All of this is happening just at the same time as the Qataris negotiate the release of Idan Alexander, an American hostage, and the Israelis have now sent a team to negotiate in Qatar for the rest of the hostages, and Donald Trump is about to visit Qatar. All of this is going on at the same time. We will break down what it means, but it is a very problematic situation. Before we go on, make sure to go into the description of this video below and download the free ebook that is available there. This is a collection of columns that I've published over the course of the last year and a half since the beginning of the October 7th war. It gives you a feel for everything we've been through in this war. So go ahead and download that ebook. First, I want to talk about what is so problematic about this gift. Now, of course, Donald Trump defended it on Truth Social, talking about how accepting this airplane replaces the old Air Force One that really needs to be replaced. And of course, why should we pay top dollar for a fancy jet when one is being given to us as a gift? But it's pretty clear that accepting a gift like this from the Qataris, especially when we consider the timing of it, is very problematic. To understand the full context of this gift and what makes it so problematic, we need to pull back the camera and take a look at Qatari involvement, Qatari relationships within the Trump administration and Trump's inner circle. Let's start with Donald Trump's children. Just last month, the Trump Organization, run by Trump's sons, Eric and Don Jr., announced that they have this new deal with the Dar Global and Qatari DR developers. This is a Qatari development firm to build a Trump International Golf Club in Qatar that will have 18 holes and a series of Trump-branded luxury villas within a larger Qatari government development. Now, being attacked for this is a major deal between the Trump organization, Trump's own family, and the Qataris. Now, of course, Donald Trump Jr. defended this by pointing out that there's nothing illegal about it, and how can we expect ourselves not to do business? Quote, "It's laughable that the left-wing media thinks I should lock myself in a padded room while my father's president and cease doing what I've been doing for over 25 years to earn a living and provide for my children." No one ever said it was illegal. The charge of conflict of interest against the Trump family is not claiming that they're doing anything illegal. The problem is one of influence. So yes, Don Jr., there is nothing wrong, there is nothing illegal about doing business, and go about your business. For the rest of us, there is a problem when the Qataris are making a massive investment in your family business, the family business that your father obviously still has great stake in, at the same time as there are very tense negotiations going on involving Qatar, and the president is also acting as the president of the United States about to visit them. So we have this gift of a $400 million airplane coming around the same time as a major real estate investment deal happening between the Qataris and Trump's own family. But it goes beyond Trump's direct children. His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, in a recent podcast interview a few months ago, mentioned that the Qatar Investment Authority, which is another name for the Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund, is one of his 3 largest business partners. So there's a lot of financial dealings between Trump's own children and the Qataris. Let's go beyond Trump's family now. The special envoy to the Middle East, who's been handling so many of the negotiations, is Steve Whitcoff. And we talked about him in an earlier video, but just a quick highlight. In 2013, Whitcoff, who's a New York real estate investor, purchased the prestigious Park Lane Hotel in New York with a Malaysian businessman named Joe Low for $654 million. When their luxury apartment conversion plans collapsed, and Low was exposed as a criminal, someone who had embezzled billions of dollars from Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund, he fled the country, and Whitcoff found himself trapped. He found himself holding the bag, and he was stuck with this property that he could not afford. He could not unload the property at his $1 billion asking price, and he was forced to take out a $615 million loan in 2019 just to stay afloat. And then along came the Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund in August 2023, just as Trump was starting to ramp up his election plans, and Steve Whitcoff was a known friend of Donald Trump, and along comes the Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund, and they purchased the Park Lane Hotel. They bailed out Whitcoff to the tune of $623 million. Beyond Steve Whitcoff, we have the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi worked as a foreign lobbyist. She even filled out a FARA form, a form that foreign lobbyists have to fill out to declare that they are working for a foreign government. And here on your screen, you see the actual document where Pam Bondi reports herself as a foreign lobbyist. She worked as a foreign lobbyist for Qatar, earning $115,000 a month. And this is a job that she had in 2020 and in the run-up to the World Cup in 2022. She has extensive experience taking large sums of money, working on behalf as an agent of the Qataris. Let's recall who the Qataris are. The Qataris are not a moderate Arab state. They fund terrorism all over the world. The Hamas leadership, they housed them for many years in luxury hotels. The leaders of the most extreme Islamic terrorist organizations are generally given safe haven in Qatar. The Qataris fund al-Qaeda and ISIS affiliates, and they've been funding Hamas for years and years and years. The Qataris really are the source of so much hatred of the West. They also fund a lot of the anti-Israel and anti-America protests on college campuses across America. The list goes on and on. Qatar is the source of Islamic terrorism from a financial perspective and has been for many, many years all over the world. But they paper it over and they put lipstick on the pig, as it were, by acting all moderate and hosting Formula One races and making themselves seem like a moderate, semi-Western Islamic country, but they are not at all. They are the patron of all the Muslim Brotherhood affiliates, all the terrorist organizations around the world. And like I said, including Hamas, that they've reportedly given about $1.8 billion to over the years. Again, their main backer. Now, I mentioned that this is all happening while there are some very tense negotiations going on. You're certainly aware that just the other day, Aidan Alexander, a dual citizen of the United States and Israel, was released from captivity. He was released from being a hostage by Hamas. And it was a very strange situation because unlike all of the previous hostage releases, there was nothing that was given to Hamas on the surface in exchange. Now, a Hamas spokesperson said the other day that they were told that if they give this gift to Donald Trump, they will receive a much larger gift in return. I would like to know, and I'm sure you would like to know, what that gift actually is. With all of the other hostages, there had to be, many terrorists released from prison, often double digits for each hostage released. Why is it that Aidan Alexander was released without any quid pro quo other than the promise of some great gift from Donald Trump? And this is, again, right before Donald Trump goes to the Gulf to meet with the Qataris, who've been negotiating on behalf of Hamas from the beginning. Now, what's so disturbing about Qatari involvement in these negotiations is not only the fact that they funded Hamas from the get-go and that they're responsible for so much of the anti-Israel, anti-Western, Islamic jihadist propaganda and activity around the world, but also how they've behaved throughout these negotiations for Israeli hostages. Let's go back to Whitcoff. Back in March, there was a deal on the table, and it was called the Wititov Deal, and it was a deal that proposed that Hamas would be completely demilitarized and removed from the Gaza Strip. All of the hostages would be released, and the war would be declared over. And Hamas was reportedly on the verge of accepting that deal until the Qataris stepped in and told them not to accept it. Now, if you go back at the time, that was right after Donald Trump had said that if the hostages aren't released, there's going to be hell to pay, and that the gates of hell will open in the Gaza Strip. And Hamas saw the real possibility that they would be completely destroyed. So they were willing to accept a deal that would exile the leadership, end Hamas's rule in the Gaza Strip once and for all, and end the war with all the hostages coming home. But it was the Qataris who stepped in and told Hamas not to accept the deal. And instead, they proposed a deal that would leave Hamas in Gaza, leave them in a position of political leadership, and a 5-year ceasefire. In other words, Qatar stepped in to to try to prevent the removal of Hamas from the Gaza Strip, and they torpedoed that deal. So now we fast forward to today, where Donald Trump has come to the Middle East, and he's going to be meeting with the Qataris. The Israelis have sent a negotiating team. The Americans asked them to send one. So today, a negotiating team left Israel to go to Doha in Qatar to resume the negotiations. The Israelis have made it very clear that they'll only agree to an end of the war if Hamas is completely disarmed and removed from the Gaza Strip and all the hostages come home. We'll see how those negotiations go. But when we consider everything we're seeing about the Trump administration accepting gifts from the Qataris, the involvement of Trump's own family in business deals with the Qataris, and when we see a number of key figures in the Trump administration who have extensive history of working relationships, financial relationships with the Qataris, this is all extremely worrisome that the Qataris, the largest sponsor of Islamic terror worldwide, has captured the Trump administration.